Okay, good afternoon, Coach. Arizona State, Saturday, and final home game for a host of seniors. Talk about the game.
So we get our final home game versus Arizona State, and the process has already started. We've already, put this past Saturday's game behind us and moving our focus forward and focusing on the final 2 weeks, starting with Arizona State. Obviously, we understand where they sit, and the players are still, I'm going to say it every week, they're still engaged, they're still encouraged, and they're still hungry to put forth a winning effort. Obviously, we understand that Arizona State is playing really good defense, and they have a receiver who is stellar. They have some weapons in the backfield as far as running back, and their quarterback is a really good player. So, they've done some things early on that were impressive, and it's still going to be a competitive game. And what we got to do, we have to do a really good job of putting our players in the right situation, right position to be successful, so they can come away with a win this Saturday at home, for their finale and for senior day.
Cory, can you address a little bit of the unique challenges that the Arizona State offense presents? And then also, I know you said you wanted to take more of a little bit of a hands-on approach with the defense. How you plan to approach that this year?
So, obviously, Arizona, they're going to be able to – they run the ball. Arizona State runs the ball well, So it's not going to be anything we haven't seen to this point. They're able to get the ball out on the perimeter there with their screen game, and they have a receiver, N'Keal Harry, who's pretty special, right, in the one-on-one matchup out there in the throw game. So, it's a potent offense, right? It poses a lot of threats. But, again, just like any offense that we faced spread in the Pac-12, what we have to do is we have to put our players to your question as far as being more hands-on with the defense. We got to put our players in situations to where they feel comfortable and can get lined up and execute the details of their assignment. So when I was saying that, when you watch something like that, right, and you see it 2 weeks in a row, starting with Cal, and then you saw it kind of, again, manifest itself in Arizona, it's kind of very telling. And so my role is just, again, a hard suggestion, right? And the thing is, we got to make sure we're doing what's best for our players. And it's not a question, it's a demand. And so that's what will happen. The players will be protected, and the players will be able to play football fast and effectively. It's kind of like what you saw versus Stanford. So they just got to now show up and make their plays.
Cory, you finally had 4 reasonably healthy cornerbacks out there Saturday. So how did that work? Do you feel better about your situation there, and all these guys going to be back Saturday?
Well, it's funny you asked that question. It did. But, again, isn't it ironic that we have 4 healthy corners versus an Arizona team that couldn't really throw, And so now you go into a game where you need them, and then now you have Sean Wilson is questionable again, And so what is good is, Jay Irvine has been able to come back. He finished the full game. And, we'll see. We'll kind of monitor that as the week goes, just because, again, the nature of the game, right? It was more of a run primary game for him. So now he'll be challenged this week out there playing against the talented receiver core that Arizona State has. Isaiah Dunn has gained a lot of good experience with this season, being a true freshman. And then Kyle White, you hope that he comes in and he's able to contribute. He was able to finish the game there when after Jay Irvine received that personal foul. Kyle White was able to come in for, I believe, 10 or so plays. So now we're starting to get into somewhat of a healthy rotation at that position, and it couldn't come at a better time. I got to check on the status of Sean Wilson, but it couldn't come at a better time getting ready to prepare for Arizona State. So about that, I am pleased. Given the state of the injury plague secondary in the past.
Is Higgs-Onu the next step? Do you have anybody else to go to besides those guys?
It will be Omar again, and then the other scenario would be Bright, right? Moving out to nickel and then going Shamar and Key Wetzel. So, I mean, you have a few different things. I mean, and what it would do, which with what we're going to do, it shouldn't really affect anyone, right? Because now the main key focal point is getting the players to be able to line up and execute.
In your Monday meeting with the team this morning, what did you talk about to keep the players focused in the next 2 weeks?
Well, I always talk facts, and I always tell them the reason why I'm here. You know, and I'm here to serve as a mentor and someone to guide them beyond football. And I pointed some things out. So I kind of broke down the days as far as, you know, when you come to college, you play a 12-game season. Let's just talk about the bare bone minimum. No bowl game, no training camp, you know, none of those things. Well, you have 12 weeks for 4 years, okay? What's that? 336 days. So with those 336 days, those are 336 Saturdays or Fridays or Thursdays. What you have to understand is you have an audience. And, you know, I kind of reflected on some of their favorite artists. And I say, you know, you've made your artists, you've put them in the position, the Jay-Z's of the world, you've put them in the position that they're in because you're their audience. Now, you should have an audience because you guys are still performers and people still show up and they still want to see you perform in front of them. So what are you doing with that 336 days? Some of you guys only have 14. Actually, not even 14, you have 2. And so I tell them, you're only as good as your last game. And this is what I told them today. Let me put it bluntly put. But the beauty of it is you have 2 more games to put on display your best. I said, you know, I know there were a lot of harsh feelings coming into the season after such a tumultuous start. And, you know, there were some players that felt like, well, you know, the way the season ended and we had so much support, you know, when we beat Oregon. And I said, I want you guys to remember this. I said, you got to remember, it's what I'm telling you. You're only as good as your last game. So your last game was Arizona. And the thing is, moving forward, you have 2 more to change and reshape and refocus what people think about you because that's what they're going to remember. They're going to remember your last performance. So with that being said, because you need to be able to take advantage of your 336 days, which is less than a year. Right? So you guys think that you're going to come into a college program and you have all this time. In reality, in fact, you don't. So with the last 2 days that some of you guys have from your 336, what will be the effort that you put forward? And then within that effort, because again, it's not always, and my philosophy is never the players. That effort has to not only be at practice or Saturday in translating. If there's something that you need from a coach that you're not getting, now is the time. It should have happened a long time ago, but now is the time for you to be vocal about it because at the end of the day, everyone has to be invested in players. So you need to be able to approach tonight and tonight's practice, Tuesday's practice, Wednesday's practice with the attitude and standpoint is that I am going to put forth my best. I'm going to demand my best from each coach. I'm going to demand my best from each teammate. We have 2 opportunities. And for some of these guys, some of the seniors, that's all they'll have. And to be honest with you, what do you want to leave? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? I told them that someday some of them will have children, right? And someday their children will have friends. Maybe they'll have daughters, they'll have sons. And some of the friends of their children, their parents will be Cory Hall, right? Their parents will be Adrian Peterson. Their parents will be Randy Moss. And the environment in which, because now you're on this stage and you have this audience, the same audience that you provide these performing artists. Now, what are your children going to say about you? What do you want their memories to be, and what do you want to be able to pass down and tell them? Right? I mean, Adrian Peterson's daughter and his son, they're proud of the fact that that's their dad. But you have the same ability. You have the same opportunity. You're on the same stage. This is where it starts. So you have to take advantage of each and every one of those 336 opportunities. Because if you let them just pass by and you have regret, that will be a piece of you that will linger forever. no one is going to remember you for this record, right? At the end of the day, it'll be forever engraved, but they will remember you for turning it around, fighting back, beating Arizona State, and then beating the Ducks. They'll be able to say that, and you'll be able to have those things to share. Now, looking beyond, well, some of you aspire to play on Sundays. Well, you have to understand that actions speak louder than words. So in Monday morning's meeting, I was honest with them, and I opened my door, which my door is always open, but I just opened my door to really talk to them because I've been in this situation before as a player. I've never been in this situation before as a coach, and I understand that there are questions that start to circle in the minds of players, and what I needed to do was to dispel all the negative thoughts that may come along with that, because everything is not a negative. Out of every negative, there's something that there's a positive that you can take from it. And so the positive is you have two more games, and what will everyone remember you for? What is the effort? What is your contribution going to be? And I just let everyone know that, again, I'm as invested in the players as they are themselves. And so I expect their best. I expect their best effort. I expect their best attention. Everything, because in my mind, I'm an elitist. And, some people have an issue with how I act on the sideline. Well, I'm different. And if you wanted something carbon copy, then you should have got something carbon copy. I don't think like that. I think way outside the box. And so I want to instill that in their minds, because I want them to be able to control their own destiny. And with how they perform, they have to understand, each individual player, all 11, is that they have to be responsible and take ownership in the things that they do. But they also need to have the ability to hold those around them accountable as well, coaches and players alike. So that's pretty much, I know it was probably longer than what you expect, but that was Monday morning's meeting. It was about the 336. What did you do with the other days, right? Because that's less than a year when you really think about it. That's not a lot of time really that you have once you come to college to play Division I football. So I kind of shared the reality of things. I kind of brought it to the forefront, and it was quiet, because you can see that there were people processing and thinking about it. Like Dwayne Williams. Yes, you're a junior, but no, you're a senior. Bright. Now you're a junior, you're senior, Elu, you're not a sophomore, you're a junior. 2 weeks from now, you're a junior. And so, what you do is you focus them on, I got to finish strong, not just for the seniors, but for myself, because time is ticking. And not only do I have to move on and forward with outstanding performances, I have to be a better manager of my time, here, and take advantage of it.
Is this a group that will respond to that?
Absolutely, they have. And that's one thing that I will say. And you guys saw I took that timeout right there after that second series, and it was just to bring them over, because I've seen that before, right? And it's not, listen, because I see myself in a partnership with media, and I want you to understand what I mean. When I'm saying something about an opponent, because like if I say, hey, they're trash, the reason why I'll say that is because so much hype can be placed upon a team, or so much hype can be placed upon a player, where a team can start to really believe that. And that's what we've experienced, right? After every game, if you're in that locker room, it's like, we let another one get away. Well, when I hear that tells me that you thought the opponent, although I was telling, and I've built up credibility with you guys, although I've proved to you time and time again that you can play, sometimes you still, when you get away from me, there are still little things that kind of seep into your mind, and it makes you believe something other than what it is. So, like, my role, and the reason why I said I'm going to be more involved with the defense and just the suggestions and everything, has been to be 100% mental leader and mind shaper because the mentality has been different. Right. And I think when you look at a head coach, look at the mentality, not just at the top, but look at the mentality of those who are also around. Those are the best teams. And those are the players that want to play, for that coach because he's mentally tough. He's strong and he's educated and he's never going to put us in a vulnerable situation. He's only going to put us in situations to where we can be successful. So when you ask the question, will they do that? Will they go out? They have not mentally checked out. Now, can I speak for all of them? I haven't met with all of them yet because I asked for all of them to meet with me just so we can go through sort of a psych eval and see where they are mentally, right? And just kind of see and just kind of talk where we are and let's be realistic and what their plan is and what their goals are. But I don't think that there's going to be one player on this team that you're going to see not mentally engaged and going to give their 100% effort. Now, what you do see is you see frustration. And again, I always say this, it's a good level of frustration because again, you see the Stanford game and they know what the outcome should have been, but just be honest, going into that game, talking amongst each other, some of the players, who knows, are they giving themselves a chance? And that idle talk can be very, very dangerous, right? And you never know what it does to the subconscious. And then it'll manifest itself at the worst time. Right. And so you saw me take that time out to go ahead and stabilize and refocus them and let them understand, listen, one player can't beat you. And right now, there's only one player that's on the field. OK, so we just have to lock in and focus on our assignment and do it and be as aggressive as we can. Now, again, there were some things that were off. Right. And I think if anybody watched it on television, you can see it. And so after the game, it was just disappointment in letting another one get away. And you can still hear it, right, around the locker room and in the building today. It's like they really weren't. They weren't 28 to 49 points better than us, and that's what has to stop. Those conversations, talking about Stanford, and talking about Colorado, talking about how close. When the question was asked, I think Cory asked the question about learning how to win. Those are the ingredients, right? It's not getting into the moment and saying, I'm going to throw a haymaker and I'm just going to hope for the best. And I know if I connect, I have the ability to knock him out, but what if I don't connect? And then when I actually throw it and I miss and then I connect and he falls, it's like, oh, he really is human. And so the winning attitude says, listen, I don't care who's in front of me. And that's my mindset as a coach. I don't care who it is sitting in the seat. You're not better than me. You're going to have to work hard to be better than me. I get it. I get the circumstance, but it won't happen. So I have to make sure that I build those players up mentally. So the winning starts with the winning mindset. And the mindset says, I'm not going into a game defeated. Because I could care less, right? You're going to have coaches, they can draw X's and O's so eloquently on the board. They can talk it and they can come up here and trick everybody. Right? Oh, my gosh, and this, and he can. And listen, at the end of the day, right, it's the mentality that is installed in the athlete. And they have to execute those assignments. They have to want to play for you, right? And they have to believe in the eloquent equation of the X's and O's. And so when you have those key elements all over the place, then I think, that's where the uncertainty, you don't have the confidence, but then you get into the game and you're like, oh, wait. You saw second half offense is different offense, right? And then you ask yourself why. Well, it's not rocket science. Those players started to believe. It was like, oh man, I'm getting. The running backs are getting to the second level into the secondary, and they're running over DBs. You see what I mean? So now you got confidence being built up. Now defensively, we never got into that groove. Well, now that first drive, think about it. What deflated them? I mean, the almighty Khalil Tate, right? He comes out, first drive, third down. They convert the third down. The next one, you have them in a 3rd and 11. We go bracket, and then we lose contain. Well, again, I ask you, was that Khalil Tate or was that we missed it? We lost contain. And then you could have said, oh, my goodness, the surge of this dynamic and explosive offense. You get on the field again, right, that second series, and they're marching, and then they try to get out of their element, and they throw, and then next thing you know, interception. So I think when you talk about the winning mindset, it's really just understanding football, really understanding what I preach is the game is never over until it's over. So you have to stay engaged, and you have to stay competitive. And so that's the thing that I think needs, and it is, and that's the difference, right? Players are not. They're not allowed to be defeated mentally, right, and see things happen and just say, "Here we go again." That's not what's allowed here, And so, I think they're very much still. I know they're very much still engaged, and they're very eager to go out and again just prove to themselves one more time that they are good enough.
Every few years back, you had Todd Graham running his version of the whole option read. You had Rich Rod, who I guess brought it with him from a small college, Chip Kelly. How does Arizona State then differ when you attack them from your defense than what you saw this last week against Arizona?
Well, obviously, Arizona State's quarterback is not Khalil Tate, right? He doesn't. Now he will. He does. He will pull it in that zone option, the read option. He'll pull it, but he's not as prone to pull it as much as Khalil Tate. Now, again, you're still going to deal with the different, inside zone, outside zone, the stretch, and the read options, but it's not the triple threat, right? It's not that. This quarterback actually can drop back and he can throw as well. So now this is more of a game it's a defensive game that's going to be more complete, right? To where now we got to stop the run, but we also have to defense the pass because, like I said, they have some weapons out there outside with N'Keal Harry and crew. So.
Cory, you talked about just making hard suggestions and as far as going forward with the defense. I mean, is this just in the week of leading up to practice as far as scheme design? Will you do anything differently on game day? How will that look, do you think?
So there are ways to be able to do things like that without doing things like that. Let's just say that this game will be player execution. The players will be able to line up, and they will be able to play. So that'll be because I don't know what you saw or what it looked like I said during the telecast, but what I saw was we weren't lined up, we weren't ready a lot of times, and sometimes a lot or what we may consider to be not too much may be a lot for others. And that's kind of what I was saying when sometimes a coach can, want to put everybody in the perfect position. Sometimes there's no such thing as the perfect position. Sometimes you need to just let players line up and play. And so those are the details that will not go unnoticed. And like I said, when you looked at Stanford, you look at that game plan was not very complex. And you have to allow players to get into a groove. You have to allow them to be comfortable. And because they have to buy in. Okay, and as a player, especially at this level, right? As a player, you don't want to be on the field thinking. I know I wouldn't want to think a lot, and have to run around, have the lactic acid build up in my body, and have to go out and bang down in and down out. So you have to allow players to get into the game, and that's what we will do better as a defensive staff. And then that's what I meant. Our players deserve better because I saw what everyone else saw, from the sideline as far as how we matched up with Arizona State. I mean, with Arizona. And no way. Love you, Rich Rod. It was nice meeting you, but, I mean, and you've done a great job, but, I got to give my soldiers a fighting chance as well.
You've talked about having simplified things over the past few weeks in the Stanford game plan. Were things a little more complicated as far as defensive scheming than that? Maybe.
Well, and I'm not going to say complex as I will say effective, right? I'm going to say less effective. So we need to do things that are effective, and we will. You just don't, like I said, you just simplify some things and keep it basic. And allow the boys to line up and play.
Two last things. One, for Senior Day, with that coming up, do you do anything unique this week for the seniors, given that it'll be their last home game? And two, if you could address just Christian Wallace and him getting his release and why maybe things didn't quite work out for him here.
Well, I mean, even just, again, the seniors, they'll still go about their same, ceremonial things that they do on Senior Day, the same things off the field, with the coaches at the coach's house. And, to Christian Wallace, that's still uncertain, right? You just know that there are some things that that may go on in the life of young student athletes that, we may not all understand. And but it makes sense to Christian Wallace, and for me, it makes sense to me. It's more than just about football, and that's why I said I'm here for more than football, and so are these players. So when things in life happen, when life happens, then again, it's a delicate situation, and so it's not about the football with Christian Wallace. I'll just say that I'm not going to speak on those things. But again, this life that we live it's bigger than football, and we have to be sensitive to that, as a staff and just period as a community for Christian Wallace. If anything, you support him, because I don't know what I would do in that situation. It'd be tough. So.